This video is going to focus on how to model the multiplication of whole numbers with decimals. And the decimals we are going to focus on for this video are going to be decimals to the tenths place value. I'm not going to be doing decimals to the hundredths or thousandths. We're just going to focus on a whole number being multiplied with a decimal that goes to the tenths place value. And the models we are going to create them with are going to be number lines, as you can see down here, and grids, which you can see over here. If you notice, the number line and the grids are each divided up so that one whole makes 10 pieces. And then grid, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 columns. So 10 columns equals one whole grid. So each column is a tenth. And then if we look at our number line over here, we have 10 little segments of our number line to go from 0 to 1. So we have tenths in our number line as well, and if we have to, there's also 10 going from 1 to 2. So with that known, let's start looking at some examples of how we can multiply whole numbers times decimals that go to the tenths place value and model them using these two models. To start with, we are going to multiply 5 times 1/10. So let's first look at our decimal, 1/10. What does that mean on our number line? Well, 1/10 means that if we take a whole, and cut it up into 10 equal pieces, we only keep one of those pieces. If you're thinking about money, a tenth of a dollar would be a dime. So if I'm dealing with 1/10, that's just one of these little sections. And I'm going to be creating 5 groups of those little sections. On the number line, let's zoom in a little bit on the number line so we just focus on that one. On the number line, we would make, starting at 0, one jump for 1/10, and now we have one group of 1/10. But our problem wasn't 1 times 1/10, it was 5 times 1/10, and I keep messing that up, hold on. 5 times 1/10. So we want 5 groups of these jumps. So I've already made one, so I'm going to have to make a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. So that takes us to right here. We've just modeled 5 groups of 1/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what is our answer? What decimal does this show? If we're going from 0 to right here, what decimal value is that? Well, it would be 0 and 5/10. Because we've gone on our number line past 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. We've gone past 5/10, and we end up right there. So there is our very first model of 5 times 1/10. We created 5 groups, each the size of 1/10. But what if we want to use the other model? So let's zoom back out. And now let's focus on our grid. If we're going to show the exact same model, well, we need to use the exact same problem. So here it is again, 5 times 1/10. And you have to ask yourself, how do I show 1/10 in this grid? Think back to the beginning of the video when I talked about the grid, and remember that this grid is cut up into 10 sections. So each column or section is 1/10 already. And just like before, we want to create 5 groups of 1/10. So we can do that by shading. Let's see how this looks. So just like before, I want 5 groups of 1/10. So let's start by shading in 1/10. There's our first group, 1/10. But we don't want just one, we want 5 of them. So to make this look even better, hopefully, let's do a second group. There's our second group of 1/10. Here's our third group, changing color again. I'm doing this each time just to show that we have the different groups. Because otherwise it just looks like one big blob and you can't really tell how many different groups you have. Then we have a fourth group. And then lastly, we need a fifth group because we are dealing with 5 groups of 1/10, and each of these columns now is 1/10. So we need a fifth group, and here it is. Oops, that's not the right color. There we go. This is the right color. So here we have 5 groups of 1/10. And how many tenths is that? Well, just like before, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our answer, using this model again, is 0. Oops, let's do that in white so we can see it better. 0 and 5/10. 5 times 1/10 is 5/10. So there we have it. We've just modeled in 2 different ways the same problem. 5 times 1/10 using a number line over here and using a grid over here. Let's try a different example now. So with this example, now we're going to multiply 3 times 3/10. So just like before, we're going to have groups that are the size of 3/10. Not 1/10 this time, but a group the size of 3/10. And we want 3 of those groups. So this time, let's start with the grid. And I'll rewrite the problem over here, 3 times 3/10. So as I said, our groups are going to be 3/10 in size. So one group isn't just going to be one column. Whoops, let me change the thickness. It's not going to be just one column, it's going to be 3 columns, because that's the size of our group, 3/10. So I'll shade that in kind of quickly. Now, that's one group of 3/10. Now we need to make a second group of 3/10. Here is our second group. It also takes up 3 columns so that it's 3/10 in size. And we need now one more, because we want 3 groups of 3/10. So my third group is over here. Notice that all the groups take up the same amount of columns. They're 3 columns each to show 3/10. And then what is our answer? Well, to get our answer, we look at all the shaded parts. How much in here is shaded totally? We've got 3 groups of 3/10, but we've shaded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of our 1/10 pieces. So 3 times 3/10 is 9/10. That would be our answer, and it makes sense because we have 1/10 over here left over. Ooh, sorry little guy, no one shaded you. But what if we like the number line model better? Let's take a look at that one now. With the number line, it's going to work very similarly to the grid. This time, though, our jumps aren't going to be just 1/10. They're going to be the size of the groups that we need, which is 3/10. So one jump is actually going to go all the way to there. That's our first jump because we've gone past 1, 2, 3/10. So now I need a total of 3 of these jumps. So there's the first, here's the second, and here's the third. So counting on our number line, where did this take us? Well, it's past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's past 9/10. So our answer is Oops, let's do that in white. No, white would be terrible. Do it in blue, 0.9, right here. So our answer for 3 times 3/10 is 9/10, and it matches up with our grid model. Let's try one more that's going to get a little bit bigger. For our final example, we're going to multiply 2 times 6/10. This is the biggest size group we've dealt with, and you're going to see what's going to happen since we want 2 of these groups. So let's get started using the number line. I think it's going to be easiest to show the number line first, and then we'll see how we can apply it to our grids here. So on our number line, we've got 2 times 6/10. Well, just like before, we want 2 groups, and their sizes are 6/10. So, starting at the 0, our first group, if we just want to show one group of 6/10, we would go all the way to there, because we've gone past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of our tenths. So this is 6/10 right here. We need a second group though. So look what happens when we put in that second group. We go all the way over here, and we end up right here. Now this is new territory for us. We haven't gone past the whole number yet in any of our examples. So what you hopefully will realize is, oh, this is bigger than one whole. I'm past it. So my answer has to be 1 2/10. Because think about it. We've gone past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tenths, which is the same thing as one whole. And now we've got 1, 2 past that. So 2 times 6/10 gets us 1 2/10 because we're past the one whole mark. And we could get even bigger if our size of the groups was larger, or if the number of groups we wanted was even bigger. Now, let's take a look at how this is going to have to look in our grids. With our grids, we'll start by shading in one group of 6/10. So that means this group is going to be made up of 6 of our columns. So this is the size of one group. But we want 2 groups. Well, if I were to count how many columns I have left, 1, 2, 3, 4, I only have 4 columns left. I cannot make a second group of 6/10 here. So what do you think I have to do? Think about it for a second. How can I show another group of 6/10? Hopefully what you've thought to yourself is, well, in the number line, I had to go past one whole. So using a grid, I'm going to have a second grid over here. It's going to have to show me that I can use 2 of those columns to complete our second group of 6/10. So let's put in a second grid. So here it is. We've got a second grid over here now, representing 2 wholes, but we don't need all of the second grid. We just need enough so that we can create our second group of 6/10. So let's do that. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 tenths over here, and then I'm going to use 2 of these guys. So even though this group looks a little bit bigger, it's because of the space between our grids. So let's just count the columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 2 groups of 6/10 here. How much is that? Well, it's one whole. This entire grid was used. So let's put that into our answer. We've got one whole, and then we've got 2 tenths in this guy. So that is 1 2/10, which corresponds to our answer from our number line. So there we have it. Whether you're using the grids or you're using the number lines, you can model whole numbers times tenths without a lot of work. just make sure that you know your whole number is the number of groups that you want, and your decimal is the size of the groups that you want. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to subscribe if you have not done so already, and good luck.